Hi, this is Lisa Keslar. I'm president of the Newmarket Business Association, and this is the second in our series of videos with our member experts who are providing some information and resources that is of benefit to our members. And today I am here with Angela Hayden from Sage Legal, and we're going to give you first a minute to talk to hear from Angela and get a little bit of her background and what she does, and then we're going to talk about estate planning. So welcome, Angela. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for having me. Always good to see you as well. Where to start, right? So as Lisa mentioned, I'm the founder of Sage Legal. My office is currently located in Exeter, maybe moving that to Newmarket, so stay tuned. But I started my career down in Boston. I've been practicing law for the last 20 plus years. It's hard to believe how time flies. And started out my career in the courtroom and doing arbitration. So cleaning up the messes when things went bad. And as I got older and wiser, I started thinking, it'd be a heck of a lot easier for people if I put my experience to work, showing them how to avoid those problems to begin with. And it's certainly a lot more satisfying to be preventing the problems than dealing with them when they arise. So I found myself transitioning more and more to doing a lot of estate planning and some small business work as well. So I work with small business owners and trying to prevent problems. So that's where I am today.
So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to give them some more information on how to prevent problems and plan ahead, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about, when does someone actually need to start building an estate plan?
So really anybody over the age of 18 benefits from an estate plan. And it's one of those things, I've heard people say, if you're over 18, you need one. You don't quite need one, right? You need air and you need water to survive. You don't need an estate plan to survive, but it's something that anybody over the age of 18 can get some benefit from. And, I could share a whole parade of horror stories of bad things that have gone wrong that created additional problems that could have been avoided by doing some planning. So, even with kids as they start college and they head off to college, I've worked with parents who've helped their kids get a very basic plan in place to take care of those what ifs. And, anybody who's still breathing and still needs air and water can absolutely benefit from doing a plan. So it's one of those things that's it's never too late, really, until it is too late. And when it's too late, it's not a really great experience to have to have your family figure out what they can do to take care of the situation.
Fantastic. And what are just real high level, what are the typical components that go into an estate plan?
Yep. So for that basic estate plan that anybody over 18 benefits from, that would include a will, and that would include a healthcare power of attorney or a healthcare proxy. They tend to use a healthcare proxy more in Massachusetts, healthcare power of attorney up here, or healthcare agent, as well as a durable power of attorney, which would address any sort of financial situations or contracts, that kind of thing. So a will is a document that tells the probate court what to do with your stuff. It's a roadmap that tells the judge what to do with your assets if you have assets that you're leaving behind. The other two documents, the healthcare and the durable power of attorney, are documents that would kick in if you are ever incapacitated. So those are things that somebody would use, somebody that you have designated to step into your shoes if you're unable to make medical or financial decisions on your own behalf. That means that they can come in and make sure that those decisions are made for you.
Great. I think that's important. And now, are the needs different for people who own a business versus people who are just employed working for someone else?
Yes, typically it's going to depend on the type of business and the nature of that business, but often small business owners benefit from creating some type of succession planning. So that may be commonly done through an LLC. It may be done through some trust planning. It really depends on the type of business, the nature of the business, and whether other people are involved in it. But that's something that really can vary dramatically case by case. So that's one of those things. It's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all, go find a form online sort of thing. That's a situation where it usually warrants a little more work and reaching out to find a lawyer that you're comfortable working with.
That's a great segue to my next question is, when does someone really need to work with a lawyer on these kinds of plans?
Well, the answer that of course I want to give is all the time, right? Just in terms of market research, I always like to go online and take a look and see what is out there because, there's an ad I see on Facebook, and I won't name the name of who it comes from, but it's from somebody in the financial world who offers this online will kit. I think they even offer a trust, and it's like $67 or something. And whenever I see it, I want to cringe because I haven't seen that product in particular, but I have seen a lot of things go wrong with the online or the inexpensive services. So anything from, I've seen documents that came in with the wrong state on it. I've seen documents that didn't have the correct number of witnesses on it. So if that will was executed that way, it wouldn't be valid. It wouldn't hold up in court. I just had a conversation with a financial advisor maybe a week or two ago. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, who said that he had clients who actually had a really substantial asset situation that they wanted to leave to their kids, and they had certain ideas about what they wanted to do with trust planning, which I haven't talked about. I can touch upon that before we wrap up. But they said, oh yeah, we've done our estate planning. We have it. And they brought it in, and they had done the documents, they'd filled out the questions, and they never signed it. They never executed it. So they didn't, so I see so many problems with some of these lower costs, and it has nothing to do with the cost. It has to do with the lack of education and the lack of follow-up and the lack of review, and as well as the documents. So I would really recommend that pretty much anybody who's thinking about doing a plan actually talks to a lawyer about it to make sure that it's going to do what they want it to do, because that's really the only way that you can do that.
So that leads me right to the next question I was going to ask is, what about those people who are, oh my gosh, if I go to a lawyer, it's going to be crazy expensive. You bill hundreds of dollars an hour, and
yeah,
can I do this affordably? I don't have that much, in assets, and I need to, especially today in today's economy and with all the uncertainty, what are their options?
Yeah, so, I think that in this day and age, most lawyers who practice in the world of estate planning, I just had this conversation yesterday with another estate planning lawyer. We really look to help people avoid problems down the road and create family harmony or avoid family problems. But I also think it's probably pretty safe to say that most lawyers will charge a flat fee. So most estate plans are done on a package basis. I know certainly in my firm, and I know a lot of other lawyers will typically do at least a very short initial consultation for free so that you'll have a good sense as to what it's going to cost and what your situations might warrant. One of the things that I've done in my own practice relatively recently, because I found that there were people who just weren't able to afford what I charge. And we spend a lot of time with people, getting to know them and getting to know their assets and their family trauma, right? And it can take a lot of time, and it can take several $1,000s to get that done. And I was having a hard time finding a place to send clients who weren't a good fit for the type of planning that I do in my firm. And so I ended up creating a lower cost option because a lot of that cost that comes from doing a plan comes from the amount of time that you're going to spend with the lawyer, right? And like I said, most estate planning lawyers, and this means, a lot of lawyers will do estate planning, but aren't actually estate planners, if that makes sense. And what'll happen is, you're spending a lot of time, you're spending a lot of hours. So sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But so what I did is I created a way to work with clients who either had a less complicated estate situation or who really just can't afford to work with a lawyer who's going to spend a lot of time with them. And so what I did in my practice is I created basically an online learning portal where clients can go through a series of videos and learn a lot of that stuff passively, right? Through videos and learning that from me and learning from my stories and learning from the experiences that I've seen through my unfortunate years of litigating in the courts, so that they don't make those same mistakes. And then most of that information will then transfer into an online process. So that way, when we do sit down and we have a conversation, we're able to really hone in on the issues and cut the time down so that they can get their planning done, at least if it's only a starter plan, or if it's just really where they need to be, it can help them cut the cost on that.
That's awesome. And that's a great opportunity for them to get a more of an education so they can make more intelligent inquiries, ask questions, know what information they need to communicate with an attorney. You know, as they start this planning process or want to relook at, I assume over time too, as their lives change, their assets change, their children age, you know, things happen with marriages, divorces, new homes, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You should want to relook at these programs over some period of time.
Yeah, I advise my clients that they should typically revisit their plan after any major life change, like you said, Lisa. So purchasing a new home, starting a new business, having another child. And if they don't have some major life event, then certainly every 3 years is my general recommendation. Some people want to look at it every year, but generally every 3 years we'll do it.
Just take a peek at it. It's sort of like we do with insurance. I'm assuming sort of a checklist that you run through to for any changes and any their goals too, because I would imagine people change what their plans are for retirement or for disposition of assets over time and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So exactly, planning for retirement. Sometimes people inherit money and they'll find that they need to do different types of planning. As kids get older, their choices for guardians often change. That might change. They often change. You know, so there are any number of things that can happen along the way that could warrant taking a look at the overall plan. Another thing too is, you know, I referenced sort of that starter plan. So people may start out with a basic, more of a basic type of plan where they're doing just a will and POAs and guardian nominations for their kids. And then they get to a point in their life where, oh, okay, trust might make sense. And that might be because they have real estate. So a trust allows you said earlier, a will gives the probate court a map, you know, roadmap of what to do with your assets. A trust can keep you out of probate court. So if you create a trust and you put your assets into your trust, you can avoid that lengthy probate process. And you can also create guidelines, or you could call it restrictions or rules for how any assets that you leave behind for your kids would be used. So if you want to make sure that if you're leaving behind money in your retirement account or equity in your house or life insurance, and you want to make sure that money gets used for education first and partying last, then you would want to put those assets into a trust.
That's fantastic. So if you had to give just, you know, a couple tips or a couple pieces of advice for those people who are thinking, I need one of these kinds of things, or I need to think about, or I need to update or revisit this. What are some things that, you know, from your experience that people should be considering or know about? Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, gosh, that's such a broad question.
I know. Just the most
if you have something
likely.
in mind, feel free to ask. No, in general, I mean, in terms of just getting it started, I mean, you know, from my perspective, in my practice, I have an open coffee hour. I call it Coffee with the Counselor. So I do that typically on Fridays. Friday mornings at 11. Those have been running virtually. I've been doing them every week right now during all this. Usually I do it once a month, but there have been enough people who've wanted to reach out. So that's always a pretty easy drop-in thing. I always have that registration link available on my website. And that's something where you can just pop in and ask questions about anything. It doesn't have to be estate planning. Sometimes it turns into just socializing, depending on who shows up, which is fine too. So that's one way to do it. You know, another sort of easy to reach out and find stuff resource is my blog on my website. There are some super common questions that are addressed there. And I am always happy to talk to anybody about where they are and what they have going on and take a look at their plan and see if there's some things that they want to change or talk to them about actually getting their plan done. You know, one thing too, before I forget, with all of this pandemic stuff going on right now, an issue that's come up is how people can get estate plan signed, because typically when you are signing these documents, you have multiple people in a room all at once. And the governor signed an order into effect a while back now, allowing remote notarizing of documents. So we are able to do most of the documents really easily online now via Zoom. And then there's sort of a little wrinkle when it comes to signing wills, but that's a rabbit hole I'm not going to take y'all down. But we, it really depends on the circumstance. But we've been able to help people get their planning done and get the documents signed in a safe manner during all of this.
And that's fantastic, because some people are finding now is a good time to do that, right? Life for some people is slowing down a teeny bit, and driving to all the baseball practices or something, so they can get a little bandwidth to address these topics right now.
Absolutely. And, and I've certainly, I've had the experience of people have just felt really awakened to a sense of mortality and feeling very helpless or out of control, and taking something like this, out of the equation and getting it done has really given people a very, very good sense of control, perhaps, or, just a lot of peace of mind, knowing that that's taken care of no matter what happens. So it's not going to solve all the world's problems, but there's definitely a sense of relief that I see with my clients when they finally get this thing done.
Yeah, it's one of those bucket list items in your life that you when it's behind you.
Oh, it's so much easier to just get it done. It really is.
It seems daunting at first, but you're grateful when it's finished.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your blog, you mentioned your website. Can you share with us how the best ways that people can sort of find you, find Sage Legal? So when they want to reach out with questions, what's the best way?
Sure. The website is www.sagelegalcounsel. That's COUNSEL. SEL, not CIL, .com. And there are lots of easy ways to get in touch. You can always book a virtual coffee hour right on my website, which is fine. Also my email, always feel free to reach out by email. That's Angela@sagelegalcounsel, COUNSEL.com. Always happy to connect with people. So.
Terrific. Well, Angela, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule today and to give us some of that insight and some of that overview and answer some of those high-level questions. Appreciate you being a resource for anybody who does listen and wants to know more. And I guess just thank you. Thank you so much.
Great. That's awesome. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. Oh, I forgot. We have a freebie up there right now. One of the things, I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was a Facebook group that I was in where there was a single parent who was so, and out of work and, very, very worried financially, and also was getting sick and really worried about what would happen with their kids. And so I've added a freebie on my website, right on the homepage, for naming a guardian. So just a very simple guardian nomination form. It's hard to figure out what you could do. I can't sew, I can't make masks. But I can make it easy for a single parent who's worried about getting sick and what's going to happen to your kids. I was able to fix that problem. So that's a freebie that people can sign in and take care of that right online. So
that's fantastic. Thank you. That's great.
You're welcome.
That's a great resource too, that I'm sure there's many people in that boat right now.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm a parent. I don't think any parent should have to be worrying about that. That's an easy one to take care of. So terrific. And I know that you can help with a lot of other issues, so you're available. So thank you. I love issues. Thank you, Lisa. It's always good to chat with you.
And you as well. Take care.
Take care.